Okay, welcome to TDF webinar, episode 2, Empowering Pakistan, Fintech Success and Challenges. Fintech is transforming the financial world with innovative technologies like mobile wallet, digital payment platform, blockchain, and many more. But where does Pakistan stand in global fintech domain? Let's find out what experts have to say about the challenges and opportunities currently facing our fintech firms. We have Mr. Essen Said with us on board. He's a venture builder, growth leader, and strategic advisor with over 18 years of experience in fintech industry. Mr. Fawad Abdul Qadir has also joined us to share his insights. He has over 16 years of experience in the digital payment and financial service sector. Thank you for joining us today. Before we dive into the discussion, I did like you both to share a bit about your experience and your current projects. Starting from Mr. Essen Said.
Thank you, Naumeena. Thank you for inviting us in this very interesting conversation. So for the introductions, I've been into payment industry and fintech industry since last 18 plus years. Over the years, I've worked with various types of payment tech companies, software providers, services providers, primarily in the payments and digital finance space. And then I've had the experience of working with some fintechs as well, during my whole career at various stages. And, I have led a couple of organizations, to build their fintech businesses, for various markets. So overall, I think the experience has been primarily focused on digital financial services, and that covers all different aspects of financial services. And recently, I've started my own sort of consulting as well, and I'm working with various entities to help them establish themselves in various markets, from product commercialization and other strategies. So so that's who am I, and in the meanwhile, I'm also very active with the Pakistan Fintech Association and some fintech associations from the region. So you can say that I'm a hardcore fintech enthusiast in that sense, and I live and breathe talking about fintech overall. So that's my introduction.
That's why you are here, Essen. I could not let you go without on this topic, especially.
Of
And
course.
yes, I would please tell us about yourself. That would be nice.
Thank you. Naumeena, that's for me.
Yes, please, Fawad.
Okay. Thank you, Naumeena. Thank you for having me. It's great to have such discussions. I belong to mainly as the service industry, and in that specifically banking. So I started my career from the service side in banking, worked with different banks, including Bank Alpha, ABN AMRO, MCB. And with MCB, I started my journey in the payments industry, in the digital payments product side. And then that led to different product developments within the banking sector. Did that till around 2017, and then decided to move out of the banking industry, doing the same thing, working on the payment side, but moving on to digitize different use cases and payments in the market. And in that, did some consultancy with National Savings for a year, and then worked in an organization and set up a payment gateway for around 3.5 years. And most recently, I was employed in a fintech, international fintech that actually ventured into Pakistan. It was about setting them up in Pakistan into the merchant acquiring space and the merchant enablement. Very recently, I have moved back into consultancy. So that has been my journey, and it's like, again, like Essen said, we started Pakistan Fintech Association together, and the idea is to support the fintech industry in Pakistan and develop it to a level where the fintech industry can become one of the most important industries and contributors to the economic growth of Pakistan.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the introduction, both of you. And definitely, we would like to, my audience would like to have to know, would like to know more about it. So let's start with some of the questions. How would you describe, this is for the SN, how would you describe the current state of fintech industry in Pakistan? And what potential do you see for its growth and impact on the economy? Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, if you can, please, because I just
All right. So, how would you
I'll break it
describe
down
the
into.
current state of fintech industry in Pakistan?
Yeah.
And what potential do you see for its growth and impact on the economy? And for us, this question will be to you as well once SN is, you know.
I'll try to break it down into two areas. So initially, the state of fintech industry in Pakistan, as you asked, so I see it's a very right now. So if you look at the evolution of the fintech industry in Pakistan, so we saw emergence of various fintech startups around about between 2017 to 2019. We saw a lot of fintechs being established, and that was the time when uh, the overall region, this part of the world was becoming familiarized with the idea that digital finance can is not just something that banks can offer. It's something that can be taken out from the financial formal financial or conventional financial services players, and there could be a lot of areas where new businesses can come up and develop certain aspects of digital financial services, and primarily from the digital first sort of experience play, and then they can actually develop their products and services focusing on the areas where banks and the formal financial services industry perhaps have overlooked, or maybe do not have the priority to serve those particular segments. So if you look at Pakistan as a market, we are an emerging sort of market, and there has been a lot of focus historically on the financial inclusion, and with the support of regulators and the government overall, there have been a lot of measures taken over the years to set the targets and to achieve those milestones, to achieve financial inclusion and take it from 10-12% in 2008 9 to 15-16%, 17% in 2022. So I mean, there has been a lot of push around financial inclusion, and that was primarily the background context of how the different fintech players entered into this space with the same kind of vision and strategy to serve the underserved segment of the population, and to serve those segments which are not really capitalized or served by the banks, and that's where they saw the opportunity. Now, over the years, what has happened is that obviously, as any industry vertical and any sector, it grows, and then there is a whole ecosystem that develops around it, right? So we are at a stage where we have clearly demarcated a space for fintech companies and the conventional financial services players, providers, banks, insurance companies, investment companies, and all these different financial services providers to to operate and collaborate with each other. And there are very specific use cases that have been identified over the years, because it's an evolution. And now we are at a stage after like 5-7 years that we basically see a lot of potential in areas where banks have also realized that there is a lot of scope of collaboration with new fintechs, with companies that have shown promise in their offerings, and that is being consolidated to the extent that we see a lot of collaborations happening. We see a lot of joint productization happening, co-creation of various different types of innovative products and services coming up. And then
Mm-hmm.
the overall ecosystem has matured in a way that we see a lot of regulations coming in that supports such innovations. So this, although a last 1 year and a half has been a bit tough on the macroeconomics in the country, and the way it has impacted all business verticals, let alone fintechs. But I think I see it as a time where because of the fact that the maturity curve is still there, a lot of fintechs have actually started showing promise and sustainability to the extent that they are surviving. They are still the brunt and surviving, considering the tough conditions we have around our economy, and the way capitalization occurs, and a lot of funding that has to come based on macroeconomics of the country, but they are still surviving. So that shows promise, and that shows consolidation. And I think we will be very soon, inshallah, past this stage, and whatever is going to
Yeah.
be developed now is going to have a lot of promise in the future, in terms of having sustainable revenue, in terms of sustainable growth, and I think that is the light at the end of the tunnel that I see. Sitting in 2023, where things do look a little murky and tough, but I think there's a strong promise going forward, and this is a time to consolidate, and this is a time to focus on creating value through the products and services that are being offered in Pakistan.
What you said, that it's true, and things move forward and in a more positive direction. Fawad, what are your insight on this same topic?
Yeah, so yeah, SN has given a very broad perspective. Let me just give you a deeper dive into this. So, adding to what SN said, look, banks were mainly focused on the financial part of the fintech, right? And they did
Mhm.
develop very good technology when it came to the banking functions, like the core banking systems or even the ATM networks or things like those, which were critical for the banking infrastructure. But
Mhm.
then, as the tech evolved over time, it was more important for giving the services to the market in different segments. So there were different use cases. There was lending. There was lending to the SMEs. There was insure tech. There were supply chain digitization. There were wallet providers. You had to and you had to have organizations doing that as a focused job. Not it is not a job of single organization. No single
Definitely.
organization can do this, right? So it was not possible for the banks to go and do this themselves. They needed this, that there are entities that focuses on technology. They are focused on finance. Yes, the core bank and the basic technology is with the bank, but then going to the market with technology which is user friendly, which is convenient, which is available to everyone, that was the focus that had to come in the market in order to digitize the use cases. This is what actually made the fintechs come in, flourish, and across the globe, if you see payments, insurance, supply chain, all these areas have been digitized, and fintechs or organizations that have focused on particular use cases and have developed their technology around it have, of course, flourished with it.
So
Your
that means, yeah, please,
The
please.
second part of your question regarding the economic impact, of course,
Yes.
one of the key aspects that Pakistan has lacked in is documentation of economy, right? And that can only be done with the right amount of digitization of data, and for documentation to happen in the country and its economy. that the funds or the transactions that are happening are documented. That would lead to actually your economy growing, because a lot of your economic activity is not even recorded today. Having said that, so that's one area. Having said that, the other thing that the fintech industry has been able to achieve with its growth and with its tremendous appetite for hiring and job creation, I think that is another area where the fintechs have really contributed. Today, we all know we are actually scarce on resources, on human resource, which is trained for this industry. And generally, what happens is you hire a tech guy and you train him in this industry for a couple of years, because uh, before he becomes actually useful for the organization. So I believe that economically, fintech is playing a very important role, not that recognized right now, but it's growing, and it's going to have a huge impact on the economic situation in the country.
Okay, so Fawad, I have another question with you. So, what are the key barriers fintech companies encounter in Pakistan compared to global market? So, do you have because you have worked in the and that I'll come to asking the same thing. But yeah, I would like to know, since you were working with the Pay Mob, then you were also working with the Nifty Pay. So you can, so what is the difference? What are the barriers and all this stuff? So please share your insight in this.
Yeah, so I can be very candid right now.
Please,
Uh,
please.
because I don't feel any pressure right now. So the thing is, I think the biggest barrier is the understanding of the investors in
Okay.
the fintech space, because I just feel that somehow people who do not understand this market and do not understand what it takes to actually develop, run, and then make it sustainable. I think very few people, I could count on my fingertips. Actually, I can only think of one organization that has actually gone to be sustainable without even doing a single dollar raise from the VCs, or and SN would vouch for that. I think other than Kinu as one organization, I can name them, it's perfectly fine, is the only organization that started with individuals coming in, doing it the right way, bootstrapping, not going extravagant with their expenses, creating the right product, focused on the tech and their operations, taking it out to the market, testing it out, keeping it there for years, right? So it's not that you're going to become profitable in 6 months or a year. It's going to take some time, because it the market needs to know you, trust you. It's about financial services. People are very, very choosy and very, very insecure about their finances, and therefore they do not trust easily. So building that trust, building that brand that people can trust, it's a time taking and a very painstaking job. So I think one area which I would highlight is the investors need to understand this. Anybody who's coming into fintech and investing into fintech need to understand what it takes to take the fintech onto a sustainable and a profitable level. That's one. The second thing, of course, consistency in the policy making in the country, right? We have a very, very progressive regulator. The State Bank has been really supportive. The regulations have actually supported the market to go into the digital payments landscape. But the other regulators, unfortunately, have not adopted financial technology in the same way. The policies have been inconsistent. You give an incentive today, you take it away tomorrow. It does not give confidence to the players in the market. I think these two things, and of course, developing. So SN would probably add to this. This is my last point. Is including academia to develop human resource, because
Oh yeah.
we in space are really, really struggling for the right amount of resources and the right education. There are a few institutions who are now doing even bachelors in fintech, which is great, because this is recognition of the fintech industry and market, that there are jobs out there, and that the universities, I can name probably fast, because like with reputation like that, are coming up with programs. So the thing is, I believe these three areas would be the key areas from my end. Essen, over to you.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So as Fawad rightly pointed out, so I'll give my 2 cents around um, the international sort of investors coming in and funding the fintechs. I think that area is, first of all, what happens is generally that you look at Pakistan's um, uh, dividends that the country offer, and those are very interesting dividends. That we are a youth population, average age of the country is 23 years. We basically have very good penetration in terms of internet and smartphones. We have a vibrant sort of population that and a very large segment of the population is our women and females, and there are very specific benefits when you look at the demographics overall. So generally what happens is that the funding that is and the capitalization that comes from abroad, from international investors, is based on these very promising dividends and demographic dividends that the country promises, and the potential that the country has. But when you're talking about investing into a business which is highly regulated, which is very specialized, then there are other factors that also have to be considered. And that should allow, in my humble view, that should allow, or that should actually make the investor also look at the fact that this is not going to be a short to medium term play. It's going to be a long tail game. In
Hmm.
a country where all the banks collectively have been able to just provide formal banking services to 12 to 15% of the adult population, means that it is a very the market has its own challenges when it comes to adoption, when it comes to financial literacy, when it comes to availability of expertise, when it comes to all those areas that Fawad mentioned. I mean, that these are all
Hmm.
challenges, and fintechs, do face all these ground realities when they are operating in the country, and there is no quick fix, or there is no quick revenue that can be generated immediately. It's a long tail
Hmm.
game, and that should be clear from day one. So what happens is that the expectations sometimes are so high by the VCs, or the funds that are coming in, that
Hmm.
it actually impacts the fintechs to have a lot to be able to structure themselves and penetrate the market for a long tail game. And secondly, as rightly pointed out, ease of doing business, as it impacts other business verticals or industries within the country, it equally impacts fintechs. The government, although the regulator has done a fantastic job in the last few years, we have seen a lot of promise, a lot of regulations coming in, and the ecosystem has developed because of that, as a result of that, and the market has progressed a lot. But again, I
Hmm.
mean, ease of business is something that has to be enabled by government itself and not just the regulator, and that's where the challenges lie, where governments keep changing, there is no continuity of the policy. There is no specific consideration being given to the fintech sector, because maybe we are not as big a contributor to the GDP today. Maybe we have a very, very big potential to be contributing into the country's GDP in the next 10, 15 years, but not right now. So maybe that kind of far-sighted approach is not there right now. And that's where we face challenges when, we talk about taxation for fintechs, we talk about, all the equipment, or all the technology that has to be imported for fintechs in various subsectors to be able
Hmm.
to grow and develop their product. So infrastructure challenges, we don't have literally we do have some local cloud providers, but we don't have that international grade infrastructure available at a that cost effective level that fintech should be. So there's a very high cost of developing the minimum viable product offering for fintechs. That takes 2 years. Then there is a long and a very hard effort that is required to be able to market those offerings and to take it to the right segments, and then to make the consumers or the businesses to adopt to those solutions. Everything has to come into place. So yeah, there are challenges, but at the same time we see some very, very good examples in the market who have companies who have gone through those challenges and then come to a stage where they are now a sustainable business. And Fawad gave Kinu's example. So Kinu has been into the business since last maybe 10 years, and
Mm. Yeah.
to long game, right? So I mean, there is no shortcut to this, considering all these challenges. So this is what has to be completely understood across the value chain when you talk about fintechs coming in from abroad or investment coming in from abroad. And the last point that I wanted to make was that you don't find a lot of investment coming in from the local stakeholders within the country,
Yes.
because that is also a problem. And I think maybe the local investors' confidence into this sector is yet to be there, where they can maybe come in and make local funds available, maybe work with the regulators or many, such entities which are, one way or the other contributing in this space, to have some kind of, local VCs established, which have some oversight by the regulators, and they are made specifically for fintechs to grow. I mean, this is a sector which has a lot of promise. You'll be surprised to know that a lot of fintechs which are thriving in GCC, in Saudi, in Qatar, Bahrain, UAE,
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
back offices in Pakistan. So the teams are here, the entire operations are here, but the products are being promoted outside the country. So we have to see all these areas, and we, as a country and as an industry, have to somehow facilitate fintechs in all these individual areas for them to be able to have that kind of infrastructure available to grow.
We will get into the advice part where the investors, and we can make a sort of like point out okay, what investors and government organization and the professionals, when they're seeking into investing in fintech, what points they should be looking into it. But one point that both of you guys have said is that technology, like empowering the education sector in the kind of a technology and innovation and new, the students who are coming in or the building up, they need to be updated with the technology. I think so. Pasha, I recently a table we worked a round table and in which they were talking about the same thing. And a lot of universities were there, and they were discussing that how we can improve our, our students' level of education and everything. So, which is very positive way, but we are way down. So, my next question with SN is like that. Which emerging trends and technologies will have the most impact on Pakistan's fintech industry? How can local businesses adapt to them? So, like, I mean, every day I'm seeing this is a new technology, and AI is coming, blockchain is coming, and we are still in the thing. And I think for our economy, still a cash economy. And I've seen a lot of fintechs also working on the side to look into the cash economy as well to somehow bring them into digital world. So, how do you force? What are your insights on this?
I think there is no denial to the fact that as the technology overall is evolving, and new areas are coming up, new improvements are coming up in terms of how you create that kind of infrastructure, that kind of applications you use data first approach, you have AI built in into the application. So these are the ingredients that anyway have to be adopted by all these different companies, because mostly they have a digital infrastructure at play based on which they create their products and services, whether it is lending, digital lending, whether it is payments, whether it is any sorts of a digital financial service that they are enabling in the industry in Pakistan. But important fact to understand, important area to understand is that we have very clear market needs that need solutions, which are, so we have very simple needs, and we need to have solutions that are simple enough for adoption as well. So adoption is the key. You we have to
Mm,
understand, the market which we are operating in. We have to understand that the different types of segments we have in our population, in terms of the age groups, in terms of the literacy, in terms of the gender, in terms of the the rural urban sort of mix. So it is important to understand the product market fit. I mean, are there any needs? Which segment are you, offering or creating a product for? If you are creating a buy now, pay later for, let's say, farmers, I mean, and using AI and machine learning and maybe Web3 technology, it won't make sense, because, at the end of the day, important is to actually go down and understand the need of the farmer, and then maybe have a very simple solution to start with that actually addresses their real problem or real challenges, right? So I mean,
okay.
I'm not saying that we don't adapt to all these new technologies, all these new areas that we have in front of us, in terms of blockchain, in terms of AI, in terms of machine learning, in terms of a lot of other areas. So important is to understand the need and then work backwards, create products that addresses that need for a particular segment of customers or businesses, and then utilize, when you're developing those products, utilize all these technologies that actually help you solve that problem at the end of the day. If it is not helping
Mm,
in solving that problem, then maybe adapt it when you are ready, with it, to be able to solve that problem. So it's not like you have to adapt these technologies to solve problems. And trust me, in Pakistan we have very, very simple problems, and we need simpler solutions, you know rather than having very complex products and services for our end consumers, or our small or medium enterprises to adopt. Adoption is the key. If it helps with adoption, go for it. If it doesn't, I mean, no need to have at least on day one, no need to waste a lot of time, funds, and energy into developing products that are not fit for the market. So that's my
great.
view on it. I mean, I would like Fawad to also add two
Please,
cents to it.
Farhan, definitely would like to hear your point.
Yeah, so I agree with SM that new technology for the sake of saying that I'm using this technology should not be adopted, right? So we look at this time as we speak, artificial intelligence is being used in majority fintechs that we have worked in. Like for instance, in the fraud management systems that we deploy, you have like fingerprinting, you have trends that work on data analysis. Machine learning improves those. So it's not that those technologies are not being used, but I second essence, they are not the tool to create adoption in the market. They are tools to improve your services, to secure you, to even to create robustness, dependability in your services in the market, and that's very key. I'm not saying it's not key. Reliability and these things are very, very important, and all the technologies that have been adopting around artificial intelligence or even blockchain are helping us to do that. But like Essen said, we need to do the basics right first. That's
Mhm.
the key. The
That's
basics. We need to understand who we are targeting, who's the audience, and what is the level of the audience financial and tech literacy, right? So what is it that he can adopt? Then you work backwards of how you can actually provide him a lot of technological advancements while simplifying it for him for adoption. Look, I'll give you an example. It's not related to financial industry, but Facebook
mhm.
or WhatsApp for that matter do not overcomplicate things because they have adopted new technology at the back end. They keep it very simple in the front, what people can actually relate to, right?
Mhm.
YouTube, Netflix, everything that you see today uses all these technologies that we talk about: artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of these, right? That's how you
Mhm.
get on Netflix, that's how you get your recommendation of the movie that you have to watch. But the thing is, even in those segments which are niche, when I talk about Netflix, they simplify it to a level that they don't overcomplicate it for you or
Mhm.
user. What we have done is we have started to market that we are really tech advanced entity. User doesn't really care, user doesn't really have any sort of benefit of anybody using a high advanced technology just because you want to market it. Yes, if it is
Mhm.
creating an impact which is simplifying things for him, simplifying adoption for him, simplifying the user journey for him. Yes, they need to be used. So I agree with Essen. It has to. So it's all about the thought process. I'm not. We are not saying that these technologies should not be adopted. They are being adopted. What we are saying is they are being used as we speak. They are very beneficial to the fintech industry, but they should not be the focus of the fintech industry. The focus should be adoption and simplifying services and understanding the needs of the market and simplifying your use cases for adoption in the market.
So basically, the thing is that कि आपके जो users हैं, they needs to be the usability of that product has to be very simplified for a layman to use that product, in respect to whatever the technology platform is in the behind. Am I
Absolutely.
if right?
And value
So
can be added. Value can be added if when the adoption starts growing. Then you can add
yeah,
value in terms of
once they
how you.
start getting used to it, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing as the Facebook or even the WhatsApp was started with a very simple thing. Then they added the business, WhatsApp business, they added catalog, whatnot, all that stuff. Yeah, that's the best way. So, if someone wants to launch a fintech company in Pakistan, so what are the essential steps and available resources to launch it? Including opportunities for international collaboration. So, Fawaz, would you want to start on this or SN, whoever? I'm good with it.
I'll, I'll take it first. So, okay, the first thing that you need to have is a problem that you're going to solve. Don't
Okay.
just go out and decide, I want to launch a fintech. What is the problem that you're addressing? Be very realistic in your research
Mhm.
about that problem. What is the segment that's affected because of that problem? Do you really understand that segment? It's a
Mhm.
very important question, right? You
Yes.
can't just assume a problem and assume a solution for it. You have to dig deep into your user base. Who's your audience? What is their problem? How you're going to solve it? Research on it, validate it in the market, on ground. Once you have done that, then the next steps comes in of setting up an entity. Do not invest into fixed costs on day one. It's
Mhm.
something that I am advising every fintech to shy away from. Do not get huge offices in on Shara FSL in Karachi or Blue Area in Islamabad. It's only going to add to your cost. Do not hire people on double the salaries and hire a huge team on day one. Be very, very realistic on to what you need. So you need a team. Get good people, fewer people. As if your people are not working 10-12 hours a day, you are overhiring at the start in a fintech or a startup. They have to give in 10, 12 hours. I'm not saying they have to give 24 hours, 10, 12 hours, give them some rest, but they have to give it that extra time. And as you grow, yes, hire larger teams, but the start would be with the proper use case, with the proper team. You can start it at your home. In the environment that we are, which is completely digital. We all do meetings on Teams, Zoom, or whatever. I'm sitting in right now in my lounge and talking to the entire world. I don't need a lavish office. So don't
Definitely.
go into fixed costs, building fixed cost, which is going to drag you down and increase your burn. And the investor would start to question you in 6 months that you have increased your burn to this. Where are the results? So it's very important that from day one you think about sustainability, you think about your use case, you think about the right team, and then you go out and target that. Listen, I'm
Great.
sure you would like to that.
I would second that. I think, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So I would agree to what Fawad has said. Important is to understand that it's a journey, right? It's a journey where something has to be created, developed based on a very real market need, a very real, solving a very real problem in the market, uh, understanding the audience, understanding. So a lot of research has to go into the planning of it before starting it, right? So we have seen a lot of startups and fintechs, um, being conceived somewhere else in a different type of environment for an audience which is not even relatable to that environment, based on some preconceived, you know, understanding of the problem. So what happens is that if you are going out in the market without actually doing your research and trying to narrow down the exact problem that you're going to solve and whether or not that is a problem, and a lot of um, what and why has to be, why the why part is very important, right, in the start. So why are you doing it? What? So it's important to keep questioning yourselves. It's important to have a culture right from the start between the founders, in terms of having absolute clarity on why what problem is going to be solved. Why are we even going this route? What are we going to do? So these are very, very, very important questions. This should not be like one or two calls, a lot of excitement around something that you think is a problem, and then you go out without any validation. So understanding the need, understanding the problem, validating it that this is exactly actually a problem and actually a need, and then trying to solve that need by coming up with whatever solution that you can develop, and then go into the actual execution of it. And this is an area where generally what happens is that a lot of startups in general and fintechs in particular actually struggle, because then they start to change the goalpost and the product actually, and the service that they're trying to develop, and that is what increases the inertia, increases the cost, increases the burn. You end up hiring wrong people for the that you want or that you need, and you end up having a lot of weight pulling you down right from the start. and um,
Okay.
and, and this is where actually the majority of the problem lies. But once you pass through this, then obviously there is a continuous. It's important to have the governance around it very regularly. In a disciplined way, to keep challenging what we are doing and keep validating whether it is the right
Mm.
thing, understanding the audience, sitting in the audience,
That is
spending.
my second question, SN, like how the fintech company navigate regulatory challenges and create a favorable regulatory environment for innovation. The second question, when you were saying regulatory, so this is what one of the fintech which faces one of the problems is that this.
Yeah, so I mean, we have seen examples where uh, um, investors coming in, spending a lot of money, and then going directly for a license that they may not have needed in the first place to start their fintech service, or develop a product. And or we have seen fintechs which basically uh, might have done it in a different route to avoid regulations in the start, and then graduating to a level where they were required to get into the regulatory space. So regulations are not challenges, actually. Regulations
Okay.
are there to protect and to actually make you safer from a lot of various perspectives. Like, uh, we have to understand the regulator's role, per se. So regulator's role is to make sure that the customers that you're serving, there, and
Mm-hmm.
especially in the fintech space, there you are actually dealing with their finances. So there is a financial impact associated with whatever service you are taking out in the market, and you are serving the consumers or the businesses around it. So regulator is a custodian and is there to safeguard the impact for those customers and consumers and the citizens, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's, and for that to be ensured, regulations come in various aspects of a fintech or a payment service. And those regulations apply when you are actually serving a considerable number of, and when you have graduated to a level where you are actually um, 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 uh, you may have a potential, a very serious impact on the consumers if, let's say, you are doing something wrong, or you are actually failing to fulfill some kind of a important aspect that was supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
handled properly. I mean, so that's the governance part, the compliance part, the regulatory part. So for fintechs which are starting up, I mean, there is no uh, 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 requirement to get regulated immediately, as long as you are clear what you are doing, as long as you understand who you are partnering with, as long as you understand if how to navigate through the regulations, and not jumping straight away into them, because trust me, the regulator does not want to over regulate the market. It's just there
Mm-hmm.
to actually protect and serve the interest of the consumers who are going to participate in a particular financial service or a financial product offered by fintechs or financial services industry overall. So
Mm-hmm.
if you look at from a regulator standpoint, they want businesses to start. They want new, startups coming into this space, trying to innovate. But important is for those startups and businesses to understand the market first, understand what the needs they're serving, and understand the landscape, both in terms of who are the players they can partner with, who are those entities that they can leverage and co-create their products with. And important is to develop those products and mature them to a level where they can take that into a regulated sort of entity, and then take it from there, fulfilling all the
Mm-hmm.
regulations and the requirements of capitalization and everything. So it's a
So
journey, as I
initially,
said. It's a journey, and it has to be
it's a
understood.
yeah. So initially, if someone wants to start a fintech, so first thing I understand is that one has to go through a whole research process, which can be a ground job. It can be, a lot of little bootstrapping, making your small software and then trying it out and seeing how people are reacting to it and all those sort of things. So, if I'm correct, but fintech, it tells when people I have seen people starting a retail industry, retail product projects, or startups in different areas. When it comes to starting a fintech, it's people are scared about it. Either it's about the cost which is involved with it, or the fundings it is, or the investment it is. Because over the years, I was talking to someone, and he was like, okay, people have not been investing in fintech companies or startups, but they are investing, have been investing other areas or other startups. So the challenging for them in terms of fintech industry or in fintech startup is for investors is a big thing. And as you initially, which you have also mentioned, that you can't expect fintech company to start giving you revenue in 1 6 months or a year time. It's like a process which takes around 2 3 4 years in order for them to start giving you revenue. So if someone wants to start a fintech, so what is the primary sources of funding and investment for that fintech in Pakistan?
Well,
Fawad, would you like to say about it, or
it's
as whoever wants?
the sources are the same as these sources are for any other industry vertical wherever you want to start a new business. I mean, it's just about. So I would rather focus more on explaining the importance of commercialization of such products and services under fintechs.
Mhm.
The unit
Definitely.
economics come into play, because if
Mhm.
that is not considered on day one, and that is is sort of worked out based on some frivolous ideas and some very excited sort of pitch decks, then I mean it's important to understand how the revenue is going to be generated and what is going to be the unit economics around, because this is payments, this is financial services, and everything is regulated. Everything
Mhm.
has a complete financial sort of impact and pricing and commercialization aspect associated with it. So it's important to plan it before actually going into the financial feasibility is very important. And once you have that financial feasibility, which you have developed based on the understanding of the local market dynamics around how the pricing is, how the cost on each and every financial service is structured in the market, because you have to plug into that ecosystem, right? And everything comes into play when you're developing a financial service in Pakistan or in any particular market. I mean, the cost on the transaction, the cost of other than the direct costs, there are so many indirect costs that have to be understood. And
Mhm.
those components, if you're not clear with, what happens is that you start a service and then eventually you lead to a stage where you understand that there was some component that you totally ignored in your financial feasibility, which is actually impacting your bottom line very seriously, because some regulation came in and there was an indirect impact on you because of whatever way you have structured the product, and it actually impacts the whole business feasibility for you. So um, the frustration then becomes very it starts getting frustrated in terms of how you are actually then going to scale, how you're going to navigate through that and these challenges. So while you are planning the product, while you're understanding the market, it's also important to see the commercial aspect of it, not just on how you're going to price your product and how you're going to take it out to the market in terms of your financial offering, but it's also important to understand what are the different kinds of direct and indirect costs that are going to be impacting your product and service, other than the direct business costs that you are actually going to incorporate as you
Mhm.
develop this, primarily
Mhm.
for that product and primarily for that service. So
Mhm.
it's a bit of a broader view, but if Fawad wants to give a very specific example, I mean, if he can.
Oh, I'm sure about it. He has many examples on these.
I wouldn't go to into specifics, but yes. So basically, what the last two questions, I'll weave them together.
Please.
Look, the regulator, like Essence said, has a role to play. It's about protecting the consumer at the end of the day, right? Uh,
Definitely.
the reason that investors are probably more inclined towards other industries is because they understand one factor, that probably financial services is the most regulated industry in the country. This is
Okay.
not like retail, or this is not like any other industry which has a regulator, but the regulator has not been so much involved and engaged in consumer protection, and in making sure that the industry goes into the right direction, and in making sure that it has the regulations to govern the institutions in this industry. So we have to understand the regulator has taken up that role, and somehow people who are sitting outside it are scared of the regulations, where regulations, like Essen said, are nothing to be scared of. It needs to be understood that it is for safeguarding both the organizations that are coming into this, because it has to uh, look, we were on the gray list of FATF, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have to understand where our country stands as far as the financial challenges that we have faced in this country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regarding fundings that are coming into this country, we have to understand the regulator is responsible to answer a lot of questions in this regard, and to give it to them, to actually really appreciate them for the fact that they have not been as rigid just to safeguard those aspects. They have really, really helped the industry as well on this. So I think they have created an ideal balance. It's just about people and investors not being able to understand this, that this is not just any other industry where you're going to come in, make a lot of money, and just move out. It's just not like that. It's something that really impacts its consumer. It's something which is very sensitive to the market. It's very sensitive to the economy, and therefore the regulations will be there. But just from a practitioner's point of view, Naumeena, I have been part of 4 organizations that have gotten regulatory licenses from from
Mm-hmm.
the from day one to the commercial license. And trust me,
Mm-hmm.
if you understand the process, if you work through that process, and if you are genuinely aligned with with providing these financial services to the market, regulation only
Mm-hmm.
helps. there,
I'm
there,
sure about it.
there,
It's
there, there are
secure.
pitfalls. There are pitfalls, right? So there are pitfalls when you're going in there. Probably somebody in your board will say, okay, fine, we don't need a fraud management system, we don't need a risk assessment, we don't need governance, just go live with this product. The problem is, when you go live with such products, we have seen unregulated products coming in the market, which have created a lot of challenges, even for the regulated fintechs, because then the people who have started to adopt back off because they hear this news that this fintech closed down, the funds were blocked, they lend at a very high rate. I wouldn't go into
Mm-hmm.
specific names, but these are all things that have happened in this market which the regulator controls. So it's very important for us to understand there is a role of the regulator. uh, I, as a practitioner in this market who has worked for 12, 15 years, appreciate that role, right? The
Mm-hmm.
second thing is the investors need to understand this. And so there is one question that usually comes up to us, and as in you would might want to add to this later. Then why come
Please.
in investing into a fintech, right? It's easier to go and invest into some other industry where you get a return in a year. Yes, you can do that if you have a short-term goal of earning money. Please do that. But if you have a long-term goal of setting up a PayPal of Pakistan in the next 5, 10 years, or
Mm-hmm.
such large fintechs that can actually flourish out of Pakistan and go abroad and digitize the payments landscape. If you want to do that, if you want to be part of that journey, then you have to take a longer view on things. Essen, you would want to add to that?
Absolutely. So, I mean, as I said, it's a long tail game, and some businesses are built as Jeff Bezos. I was watching his interview a few days ago. He
Mm-hmm.
was so some businesses are built to sell. and some
Yes.
businesses are built to last, right? So
Last.
important is to understand that the time for building businesses to sell has gone. At least it's not the right time for that now. Important is
Mm.
to have businesses established, fintechs established, who are there to last, who are sustainable, who have a clear road to revenue, who have a product that serves the right market, the right problem, who have a clear road to revenue, who have a clear road to profitability, and it cannot be achieved in 1 or 2 years. It's a long process, and it's a
Definitely.
journey
Definitely.
that demands a lot of patience, perseverance, a lot of learning along the way, as the market develops around it, as the adoption takes the business to a level where it becomes a sustainable model. It's a long game,
Mm-hmm.
and every stakeholder in this whole value chain has to understand this, and I think that is the crux of our experience collectively when we see fintechs coming in, being funded, then investors running away, fintechs going down, shutting down. So I mean, in the last 4 or 5 years, we have so many case studies to see where all of
Mm-hmm.
that has happened in just the span of 2 to 3 years. So I mean, that is where the problem is, and I think with experience, I'm a firm believer that we collectively as an industry, as fintech industry, we have
Mm-hmm.
come to a level where we understand these things now, and I think we understand now what are the key matrices to gauge ourselves, to assess ourselves in terms of how we are going to take it step by step into that level of sustainability that allows us to grow, and then in turn it allows the overall ecosystem to grow around us in terms of our
Mm.
product.
So we are done with an hour thing. If you have like 5 minutes, I just want to ask that okay, we have been talking about what the new startups and they should go. So they are presently they have certain fintechs and they are having some challenges on of their own as well while running their fintech. And one of the challenge which I spoke to one of the fintech person was that onboarding a customer is a pay difficult for that because the thing is that it's basically it's a sub fintech and they are integrated with multiple other fintechs like Nifty Pay, Sada Pay, and this. So for every regulatory, they have to file a huge number of paper and documentation where it's a digital world. So when you're talking about digital world, things has to be digitally and they have to be a certain the same documentation should be is should be used by every other integrator. So how would you want to define that? Because this is one of the biggest challenge which I think that the present fintech companies are facing.
So let me take that first.
Please.
There are two things. Before I answer this question, Nomina, I just
Gigi.
uh, want to mention that uh, a lot of people who have worked in this industry joined hands around a year or so back when we formed Pakistan Fintech Association, and the reason for that was basically to uh, impart that experience and impart what we have to the newer fintech. So one thing that I would like to take this opportunity is that anybody who's coming into this space, um, reach out. It's very important to ask questions. It's very important to discuss these things with people who have done this and have the experience of doing this. A shorter answer to your question. Can you repeat your question? Because I wanted to just make this point before I.
My question was that the present fintechs they are having problems with onboarding customers because they have there's a lot of paperwork required, and if they have like a multi vendors integration, so if there's a payment gateway with the one company, then there's a payment gateway with another.
I
So
remember the
there's
question.
multiple documentations, and
Sure,
it needs
I'll
to be
answer.
digitized
Look,
singularly. They need to be processed.
look, like we say, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So there are things that are happening right now. The regulator had worked on a centralized KYC thing. Again, I wouldn't say where, but it's a little stuck. We as a country and as a government need to push that. There were policies that were under process, like for instance the Data Protection Act. Things like these, right, need to happen. What you're saying absolutely makes sense. There needs to be a digital process. We saw a digitization of process in exports and trade through Pakistan single window. We will see, inshallah, we will see a eKYC process. So multiple entities would not have to do the same documentations again. So yes, there is a background work on the government level that has to happen in order to make the lives of the fintechs or the entities that are digitizing easier. So
Yes.
we need to keep these two things separate. If you're coming in as a fintech, you need to understand there would be challenges on the back end. Everything is not hunky-dory, everything is not digitized, everything is not digital in Pakistan at this time. What you are doing is creating the first part, the services part of it for your consumer. And as you do that, you would have challenges which you would be doing. Some of it would you can digitize, some of it you would be doing manually, and then you would go back to the government, advocate your case, and the impact that you're bringing in, that would drive the government to make policies in your favor. So that's how things work. If you demand everything on day one, nobody's going to give it to you on a plate.
Definitely, definitely. I do understand that, but I hope since you are into fintech association and you are working towards to streamline this process and to make the onboarding more quicker and faster.
We are
Absolutely.
already doing that. We are creating that advocacy from our platform. S&Ps are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
I think it's a so it's a new sector, it's a new market. Uh, Even the banks do not have a digital KYC sort of regulation there as yet, 100%. But it's an evolutionary. So regulations are also improving with time. The ecosystem itself is also improving with time. And then obviously there has to be a complete digitization drive by the government itself. Everything cannot be done through regulations, right? So the KYC requirements can be is understood by everybody, but then to digitize a KYC process, a simple KYC process may require some changes in the laws, some changes in the policies, some changes in the way the current identity data or consumer identity data is provided to the businesses, for KYC purpose. So onboarding onboarding to be digitized, there is a lot of effort that has to be done, and conscious effort that has to be done across various aspects and facets of the government itself, the regulator, the industry. And we are not saying that it's not happening. It's an evolutionary process, as Fawad said. And but that does not, honestly, I don't believe that stops fintechs to create those products that can be adopted and that can serve the real challenges that we see in the market when it comes to financial inclusion, when it comes to various aspects of financial services for the consumers or businesses. It does not stop us. So we have other ways. There are fintechs who have created very creative ways to enable onboarding while also working with the formal sector like banks, like regulated entities, to develop those mechanisms in terms of how to onboard customers.
Mhm.
But again, as Fawaz said, and I'm going to second that, this is a evolutionary process.
I'm
We
sure.
are expecting open banking framework coming in that would solve a lot of challenges. We are
Okay.
expecting eKYC framework, inshallah, coming out. So regulator is working on it continuously. If we think
Awesome.
that the regulator is not, it's not the case. But obviously there are real challenges in digitization in a market where we don't, our economy is not digitized. We have a lot of aspects that needs to be addressed before going into that area. But I mean, it's again, we are going step by step. It's a journey, and we'll inshallah be there where all these ecosystem aspects will be provided and will be ensured for companies to come in, onboard seamlessly, and then develop their products based on and leveraging the data that is available for consumers and
Mm.
businesses to develop their products. But I mean, it's still a bit early, and we can only hope and make an effort and help the regulators also to develop these frameworks so that everyone benefits and we, go into the digitization of economy, the digitization of country overall quickly, inshallah.
Namra, do
Okay,
we
thank you so
one
much.
last
हाँ जी,
remark?
बोलिए.
Just one last remark. So,
Please, please,
like,
please.
yeah, just wanted to add that we as uh, and I take that upon myself, and I'm sure SN does, and a lot of friends in the industry. We have to make this impact, right? Nobody is going to do it for us. We are the country. We are the people who manage this industry. So we have to make that impact. If we see, let's say, for instance, eKYC is needed, who's stopping you from coming up with a solution and a proposal to the government and invest into that area, right? So a lot of these changes around the world have happened through public-private partnerships. You people
Mm.
have gone with solutions to a problem, and this is, like I said at the start, how do you start a fintech? You find a real problem, a real use case that is going to change things. And when you find that, you find a solution for that. So if you have a solution, and if you feel this is a real problem, and if there is effort required in there, come up with a solution, come up with a use case, come up with your business plan for that, and go
Mm.
and pitch that to the government. And I've seen governments take notice, support, and implement these initiatives where you are able to actually bring in a change. A lot of these things have happened like that. So I think, yes, while I say there has to be real focus on the government level on policy and support for such initiatives, yes, not taking any responsibility away from them, but a lot of responsibility on the private sector to actually go in with the solutions and resolve these issues.
Great. This was quite a good insight from you two, and thank you, Essen, Saeed, and Fawad, really to share this whole take out time and sharing your insights for the team people. I hope we will be sharing this recording with you with time, and as soon as we have it, you can upload it on your social media and everything. And for the audience, I would like is that I hope you have learned from something from this, and you will also try getting into fintech world. I know it's a difficult, challenging area, but get into this. There's a lot of scope. There's a lot of gaps. Pakistan is way behind it. So let's I hope you have learned from these two experienced people. To learn more about our upcoming webinars and events, please follow us on social media. And thank you again, Fawad, SN.
Thank you
Nice
Nina, for
talking to
having
you.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.